Generative systems today are highly capable of producing outputs that feel clear, structured, and convincing. When we interact with these systems, we encounter language that flows smoothly. The sentences are well formed, the ideas organized, and the response appears internally consistent and aligned with the context. Because of this, a natural assumption forms. We begin to treat coherence as a signal of reliability. If something reads well, sounds complete, and appears logically structured, we tend to assume it is correct or at least stable in meaning. But that assumption does not hold. Coherence and semantic stability are not the same. A generative system does not retrieve a fixed answer. It constructs one through multiple transformations. The input is interpreted, context is reconstructed from learned patterns. These patterns are completed into a plausible structure. Finally, an output is synthesized to match the expected form. At each stage, small deviations can be introduced. These are not obvious errors, but subtle shifts. Conditional language may be softened, multi-factor dependencies may be compressed, causal relationships may be reordered, concepts may be replaced with approximate equivalents. Each change is minor, but they accumulate. Because the output remains fluent, these shifts are not easily visible. This produces semantic drift. The original meaning does not disappear. It is gradually transformed into something that remains coherent but is no longer fully aligned with its source constraints. A key feature of this condition is low visibility. The output does not appear incorrect. In fact, it often appears better, clearer, more complete, more decisive. This creates a second misinterpretation. Clarity is read as correctness, completeness is read as certainty. But what has occurred is not validation, it is transformation. This becomes significant when outputs are used beyond simple interpretation. If used as rough summaries, the drift may not matter. But in contexts requiring precision, the effects become structural. In conditional judgments, small shifts can change outcomes. In domain-specific interpretation, approximations can distort meaning. In rule-based decisions, compressed boundaries alter application. In risk evaluation, uncertainty may be replaced with apparent certainty. In these cases, semantic drift can produce premature conclusions, loss of conditions, overgeneralization, and unintended certainty. The system is not producing random errors. It produces coherent transformations that may exceed the original constraints. This makes the issue difficult to detect. The language is not broken, it is well formed but shifted. The key point is this: high coherence can mask gradual changes in meaning. An output can remain fluent and convincing while diverging from its original grounding. Without careful attention, this divergence goes unnoticed, especially when clarity is trusted. This is not a failure of the system. It is a property of how generative systems operate. They do not reproduce meaning, they transform it. When that transformation is smooth, the original boundaries become difficult to see. Recognizing this changes how outputs are interpreted. The question is no longer whether something sounds right, but what transformations have occurred. Where have conditions been compressed? Where have relationships been simplified? Where might clarity be masking a shift in meaning? Once coherence is no longer treated as a proxy for correctness, these systems can be seen more accurately, not as sources of fixed answers, but as processes that generate structured and fluent, yet potentially shifted, representations of meaning. Naming declaration semantic drift under generative coherence originates within meta-writing Ecology as an independent structural model describing how fluent outputs can diverge from source meaning without clear signals of error. It focuses on transformation rather than failure and treats coherence as a condition that can obscure rather than guarantee semantic stability.